Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we have High West Bottled in Bond Straight Rye Whiskey. This is hopefully gonna be good. Run the video. All right then folks, welcome back to another new episode of the Whiskey Cove, where we will be reviewing High West's newest release, the Bottled in Bond Straight Rye Whiskey. Before we get into today's video, if you haven't already, go and check us out on Patreon. Go and check us out on the Rocky Mountain Whiskey Society over on Facebook. The best way to connect to me is through Patreon or Rocky Mountain Whiskey Society. Also hoping to have some interesting pick for the Whiskey Cove coming up here soon, so definitely watch this space and definitely look out on Patreon and that website, the Rocky Mountain Whiskey Society over in Colorado, over on Facebook, to get more information about that. With that being said, High West has kind of been a little bit like that for me lately. Last High West Midwinter Night's Dram was okay. The one before that wasn't good at all. The Boo Rye was phenomenal, really like that. The Prisoner Share, I have one over my shoulder, I just thought was kind of okay too. They have been putting the prices up lately. Some of the products haven't been delivering. But we have High West Bottled in Bond. This is 100% High West distillate. The last time we tried something that was 100% High West distillate, that was the High West High Country American Single Malt. We didn't like that one bit, so I'm really hoping that High West have been able to figure the rye out, because they've been known to always do fantastic rye. So the ryes have been the cornerstone of that distillery. All the blending, all the finishing series have just been fantastic. This isn't a finished and this isn't blended. It's their own stuff. It's High West Bottled in Bond. At least 4 years old, we know that much for sure. 50% ABV or 100 proof from one distiller over one distilling season. So notoriously in the past, with High West products that have their own distillate, I normally pick up a lot of youth there, a little bit of yeasty funkiness that I don't generally like. Let's see what we get with this one. The bottle itself is the traditional High West bottle. They use it for everything. It's pretty cool. I've always liked these bottles. The etching on the glass is pretty cool as well. We always have a real cork, a nice real heavy cork as well. We really respect that. Really nice front label, picture of the distillery there as well. This is batch number 23L19H218. And then it goes on to tell you a little bit about what it is, what a bottle needs to have if it's a bottled in bond whiskey. So definitely read that if you pick up that bottle there. Brendan Coyle is the master distiller and Isaac Winter is the distilling manager. Just looking at the whiskey in the Whiskey Cove Glencairn here, we see it is a little lighter. Almost does kind of look like an American single malt in the glass. It's very hay forward. Looks a little thin, but you know, rye whiskies generally lean on the more thinner side in the glass, but it does kind of sit around on the lacing in the glass there quite a lot. Let's go in for a nose here. This is High West Bottled in Bond Straight Rye Whiskey. I'm not getting a punch of flavors off the bat straight away, which is neither good or bad. You know, you definitely have to do a little bit of rummaging around in this one. I'm definitely getting a little bit of spearmint there. I do get spearmint from rye whiskey quite a lot. And yes, specifically spearmint, because spearmint is a little bit more sweeter, more vanilla forward, and I'm definitely having this here. Touch of cherry as well there, like a bacon cherry. There is some sweetness there. Maybe more of like the toffee sweetness. Not much barrel char here as well. The aniseedy rye, kind of seedy note is definitely coming through as well. Very promising, if I'm completely honest, because I'm not picking up those youthful notes that I was worried about originally. I haven't tried this. This is the first time I'm trying to hear with you folks at home. Maybe a subtle little bit of smoke there as well, which is pretty cool. They obviously do this campfire by High West. This is not that. Nor do they put any of that in there because this is their own distillate, but it's interesting that I do pick up a little bit of a smoky note there, which you can do in some whiskies. But all in all, quite well rounded, even though it's not quite jumping up out to the glass view. You're not getting like an uppercut rye spicy, it's more of the subtle notes, but there's a lot of good balance between those subtle notes. They come together quite nice on the nose. Let's go in for a taste here. So first impressions, it is actually quite a spicy rye. You get a lot of rye spice, a ton of rye spice actually, and a lot of pepper, and like right on the tip of your tongue, and it also kind of displaces all over your mouth there as well. If you're someone who doesn't particularly like rye or doesn't like rye heavy rye, then this is definitely not going to be the whiskey for you. If you're someone who's enjoying more spicier palated bourbons and thinking about getting into rye, like you're someone who enjoys like Old Grandad 114 is a very spicy whiskey, I find, then you might like this. It definitely has some like old school cola vibes there, with like the coriander, the licorice, and kind of cinnamon, kind of all the sort of old school notes that you get from like the older Coca-Colas from back in the day. I'm also picking up on the palate a little bit more of that youthful yeasty note. I kind of was expecting that, but it's there, but it's not. It doesn't take over the glass. The single malt high country, it just that was what that whiskey was all about. It was all just that youthful yeasty note. With this one, this is a small component of a bigger tasting palate, which is as expected. I knew that I was going to pick that up just because, like I said, this is quite a youthful whiskey, 4 years or so, at least 4 years. But I was really hoping that this whiskey didn't become that note, and it definitely hasn't. It has a lot more going for it there. Let's do one more taste here. It definitely has also almost like a cigar note for you cigar smokers at home, when you kind of cut the end of the cigar and you kind of go in for just kind of let it sit in your mouth before you light it, and you get that tobacco-y cigar taste. It kind of has that. It's like that spicy nose, that little bit of smokiness there as well, but that kind of bitterness that you get from like tobacco. And I'm sure people who maybe like chew on flavored tobacco know that note there as well. All in all, this isn't a whiskey that set the world on fire. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to be a bottled and bond whiskey that we're probably going to see sitting on shelves that join the Campfire Double Rye, Rendezvous Rye, American Prairie lineup. I believe this is going to be a full-time addition to that series. How much did I pay for it? So I was fortunate that someone over in a Facebook group that I'm on was able to send me this. I don't know what the MSRP is specifically. He said that he got it at the distillery for MSRP. I ended up, it was about $87 I ended up paying with shipping to get it to my front door. I think that's right. I think $60 to $70 is right in line with the MSRP on this. So I think personally, I think it might be priced a little bit high. I think if it was priced more towards like the double rye for $30 to $40, then I think it would be quite competitive. And I think, yes, it does have some of that youthful notes, but I kind of like where they're going with this. I feel like it does have a lot of like the rye characteristics, the spicy notes, the spearmint, the vanillas, a little bit of that tobacco there as well. And then that small youthful note doesn't consume the whiskey at all. However, let's do value for money and then price. Score out of 100. So value for money, like I said, at $60 to $70, I do feel this is a little bit on the higher side. What would I get instead of this? Probably like a Pikesville or a Rittenhouse or even a Sazerac rye I would probably get instead of this. So for value for money, I'm probably going to give it a D. It's cool that High West are able to put out a rye whiskey that there's their complete distillate. However, it's priced a little bit highly for me, like a lot of the other stuff that they seem to be doing. The Midwinter Night's Dram that was like $130 to $40. The Prisoner Share, which was like $170, everything seems to be just priced too high, and I guess if people are going to buy it, then they'll continue to put the price up. And hopefully, with this season that Midwinter Night's Dram didn't sell as fast as other years gone by, they hopefully might rethink that strategy. But money talks, I guess, at the end of the day. So score out of 100 here. Let me give it one more taste. And like I said, this is definitely a rye drinker's rye. I'm going to give this a 62. I think that definitely could be better. As someone who does like a lot of rye spice and rye notes in my rye whiskey, I think that it became maybe a little bit too spicy forward. There wasn't enough sweetness in this whiskey for me to balance it out. So if you're a die-hard rye fan and you want to feel like you're chewing a bunch of rye seeds, this is the whiskey for you, but not necessarily in a bad way. I appreciate what it's trying to do, and I think for 62 out of 100, it's still a pretty decent score. Congratulations again to High West for being able to make something that they have their own distillate after all these years of doing some phenomenal job with the blending. Be really interesting to see how this whiskey develops in the next couple of years, and their own distiller continues to develop. This didn't change my didn't change my beliefs or how I feel about High West. Sometimes they knock it out of the park, sometimes they struggle. This was kind of like almost like right down the middle of the road. Go out, maybe try it once if at a bar. Probably wouldn't buy a bottle of this again, and you might see this stick around a little bit longer. Maybe this would be really great in a cocktail, actually. I think that's maybe what you should use this whiskey for. I think it would stand up really well in like something like a rye old fashioned. I think this would do fantastic because you'll get the sweeter component from the sugar in the old fashioned that would really help balance out some of the other flavors here. Maybe we'll have to try that here in a video shortly. So if you've enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, and then also if you're not a subscriber, consider doing that too. This was High West Bottled in Bond Straight Rye Whiskey as we drink through the world's whiskies one glass at a time. Cheers.